Hello and welcome back to the Beauty Way. Today we have a beautiful friend of mine, Cendrine, joining us today. She is an Ascension Mentor and trance channel. We have been connected for maybe 3 years-ish now. We recently were in Egypt together, and Cendrine lives in New Zealand, and we have co-created in lots of different ways in the past. And I'm really excited to have her here with us today because I feel like we're going to have some really juicy conversations. And so thanks for joining us today, Cendrine. It's so nice to have you.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having me. I'm really excited. Thank you both.
Amazing. And just before we started, I said that I was feeling that we might discuss the dragons today, and Cendrine pointed out her dragon top, which for those of you who are catching this on recording, you'll be able to, on the video, you'll be able to see her beautiful dragon top. And the reason that I thought that the dragons might come through is that a huge part of Cendrine's work at the moment is co-creating with the dragons and the way that and this is my interpretation, the way that the dragons are coming in to support the ascension of humanity at this time, and how the frequency of the dragons is giving us access to different aspects of ourselves as humans to kind of blast into this sort of next level version of ourselves and this next level version of humanity. Is that an accurate way to
Yes,
describe it?
excellent, Carissa. Yes, I love this. Thank you.
Amazing. And so maybe you can just expand on that a little bit, just to give us an idea of what that mission is like for you, what it is specifically that you're doing with them beyond what I just sort of gave as a basic overview.
Yes, of course. We are all hybrids. We all have multidimensional blueprints. And so it means that we have some human blueprint, galactic blueprint. And for a lot of us, we also actually have dragon blueprint. So it means that within ourselves, we have codes of dragons, and they can come from many different lineages. And a lot of people would be familiar with the Sophia code, I guess. And in the Sophia code, Skyra talks about the Sophia dragon tribe. And so I co-create with the 11th dimension Moksha dragon, which is the similar, we just use another way. But basically, it's like a dragon coded ascended masters that have come to physicality or work in the non-physical realms, and we create a tidal wave of accelerated revolution through the remembering of this connection with our soul blueprint, the fact that we are hybrids and that we actually move, because when the dragon comes and help humanity, it is in tipping points, and we are in a tipping point now. And this is why also so many cultures and traditions, they pick dragons because they are actually a thing. And so it's interesting because at the moment a lot of people are interested in dragons in many ways. And so the way I teach it is always, as I teach with everything, is through embodiment of the blueprint that is already present within us, and how we can declutter the field to be able to reactivate what's already present. But a lot of people there are challenged, and it's like typical human challenges of, we feel the next level of iteration of the version of reality and souls that we are, and it's just there, and we know there is something happening, we can feel it, yet we don't know how to access it. This is when dragon power, codes, and energy can come into the field, into the mix. But it is not for everyone, because a lot of people are like, oh my God, the energy is so intense. So like dragon people, they are intense people, and they can be quite scary and intimidating. And if they don't know how to recalibrate their energy, there is also a lot of fire. And so the fire can be destruction, anger, frustration, and so on. And so I love that, because that's totally me. Like hybrid dragon, galactic being. And I have so many more people come, and it's for them, it's like, oh my God, finally I get it. I get who I am, I get why I'm moving like this. And this girl like is showing me it's like a modality of being able to live to the full of expression of ourselves, simply by being who we came here to be, which is divine, revolutionary, chain breakers, trailblazers, and so on. So that's Moksha Dragon frequency, which is the lineage I mostly co-create with.
I love it. And you know what else I love is my family for years we've had, because I've got two daughters like you, Cendrine, I think you've got two daughters, don't you? And How to Train Your Dragon has been one of our favorite family movies for many years. And I love that How to Train Your Dragon is back in the human live action form at this time in our humanity. Just feels so incredibly powerful. Like the story itself is genius and the soundtrack is genius. And to now have it as actual humans sharing the dragon frequency on the big screen, we actually went to see it. And it's so phenomenal. Just another layer of us actually anchoring this frequency within our humanity. There was a question that came that I wanted to ask you when you were sharing what it is that you do. What can you explain to, you know, the ordinary person what it means that we're a hybrid?
Yes, of course. It's within our DNA, we have codes that come from galactic civilizations. We have dragon codes and human codes. So it's not just human blueprint, it's multidimensional blueprints that's being hybrids. And there is no, to me, there is no such thing as being a starseed. Like, I know it's a very popular concept, but I don't perceive it that way, is that every single person, well, not every single person on the planet, but every single person that I co-create with is a hybrid. We have many different connections with many different galactic civilizations of light and of not of the light. And we just like, you know, it's like here, we love to travel. Well, it's not just here, it's also beyond this physical realm. So it's interesting because, you know, within the next 2 decades, we'll have DNA tests to test the blueprint of galactic beings. It's already there. There's like over 1,800 galactic DNA present within the database of humanity. So, of course, the Americans have it. And it's just a matter of time until it gets released and we can get tested. So instead of just having like our ancestors, we actually have more galactic blueprints, which is very exciting. Yeah, good times coming.
It's so funny because that's actually what came through when you first started talking about it, is the access to that. And for those who are listening kind of to this concept for the first time, the Ancestry.com database where you can put your DNA in for a test and it comes back telling you all the different countries that your DNA has kind of been formed as this combination from. And what Cendrine is saying is that we ultimately have a database for things that are beyond the countries and our planet and different places in our multiverse. And I think that that is very exciting. I feel very excited about the day that we can put a test in to see all the different DNA influences, all the different parts of ourselves that have been influenced from all these different places. Because, you know, as above, so below, when we consider all of these different lineage aspects that we have within our physical body from a human country culture perspective, imagine what's possible when we have access to the, I guess, the physical evidence of our multidimensionality.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Very exciting.
Cendrine, I wanted to ask you, how did you connect with your dragon frequency? What were the events in your life? What were the triggers that helped you identify that code within yourself?
It's a very good question. I'm not quite sure. I think it's a series of events. First of all, the way that I have witnessed my own fire my entire life. So I've always been like too much for most people. And people have said it straight to my face, like, oh, thank you. That's very nice to hear. But it's, I've always had so much fire, so much anger, so much desire to change things and to see things differently from a very big picture. Like since I was very young, I would always ask the most you know, high frequency, big picture questions that no one could answer. And it's this consciousness of Moksha Dragon frequency, I guess. But it was always dysregulated. So I had a lot of anger management issues and a lot of, you know, it was all over the place. And over the years, I have learned to handle anger and everything like that and my fire, but it was always something that was underlying. And living in New Zealand, it's, you know, it's a land of dragons. It's very mountainous. There's like lots of dragon energy here. but I was reconnected to galactic blueprint first. And this is the pathway most people undertake. It's like first they're awakened to the galactic blueprint because it's easier. It's humanoids. It's easier to conceptualize for people, with the evolution of consciousness, that indeed, there are some aliens out there, and we also have those codes. And once that is more embodied and stabilized, then usually the next iteration is the reconnection with dragon frequency, which is very mystical as well. And for me, I got really initiated and trained. It started probably when I was reading the Sophia Code. I had a lot of activations with dragons. But actually what's coming is also when I started doing quantum healing hypnosis and quantum journey myself, I would always be with dragons. There would be dragons. I would shapeshift in dragons. I would fly as a dragon or as a hybrid humanoid with long antennas like this on the back of the dragons. And now it's just it's just very, very present. And I think a lot of people have different ways to be initiated because there are many different lineages, and it's also part of the folklore of a lot of ancient traditions. So people could get initiated more through ancestral codes or Gaia codes. There are also galactic dragons. So it's like there's a whole variety of these codes present within the field. This is why so many people are into it now, because there are also lots of figurines and crystal dragon eggs and movies, and it's really getting out there. And when the folklore, the culture is really depicting so much, for me, it really shows that this is what's happening, because our imagination comes from actually what's present already within us. So it's just coming out like that through movies and books and connection in this way. So yeah, there was not like a defined moment, but more like a series of reconnection in different levels, I guess.
That's beautiful. When you're talking about the journeying with the dragons, for me, it's the whales, and the whales for me has always been there. But what I'm hearing when you're speaking as well is that as we've had more of that normalization, if you like, do we want to say normalization of the dragon frequency into our culture, it's like it's giving people permission to actually identify with that and realize that, oh yeah, I do have this. Am I so weird? And just asking that question opens up the possibility to connecting with that even more. And then if people stay open, then they go, oh yeah, okay, then they might find more about the dragon frequency and things like that. So yeah, I love that. Thank you for that, because there's probably somebody that's listening. Because the other thing that I loved that you said as well was that anger. And we've been taught to make anger so wrong. And it was actually this force within you. It was your soul speaking. It was your code speaking to say, okay, I want you to access this and I want you to channel it for the good of humanity. And that helped you to connect with that dragon frequency within yourself. It's moving out of that belief that there's something wrong with me and actually stepping into, there's nothing wrong with me. This is my code and it's here for a purpose.
Yes, totally. I love this.
And it's such a powerful frequency as well, like the amount that can be created and transmuted through those frequencies, and like bringing the conversation to the concept of the beauty way, like bringing these varying different aspects of ourselves into some form of a harmonization. And I love that what you shared, Cendrine, is that the dragon co-creation is giving us the ability to kind of, what was the word that you used? Regulate these aspects and kind of use them in more of a sort of embodied healthy way. And like you said, Kirsty, as opposed to rejecting them and making them wrong like our society does. And I imagine that that is a really powerful process for people like you have experienced yourself, Cendrine, for this kind of perception of being too much. I mean, when I think about the dragon frequency, it's a lot, right? And, for me, it's like, how do I expand my capacity to be with that as opposed to make it wrong? Because as a society, it's kind of crazy that we even have this concept of too much. you know, because ultimately the more embodied we are with some of those frequencies, actually the more powerful we are. And so is there such a thing as being too powerful? I think only when we are using it in ways that are a bit distorted or unhealthy or unloving ultimately, but when they're integrated and they're integrated with our heart. And I'm actually curious if that's an aspect of the Dragon Codex, like how is that integrated with the heart to bring love through our anger or our sort of too muchness?
I love this. Oh my God, there's so much I want to share on this. I love this. And it's interesting because this week I'm facilitating another Dragon Pod, you know, which is one of the offerings, and we're going to help people reactivate Dragon technologies. So we're going to activate Dragon Womb, Dragon Heart, but also many other technologies like the wings, the tail, the scales, the third eye, and the backbone, and so on. And what I would love for people to really realize, and this is something that people continually share with me. Oh, but you know, like I went to do this meditation or I did this work, and you know, like I started, I'm really afraid of my power, and my purpose is so big. And I was like, exactly. But as long as you stay afraid of your own power, you will be miserable and you will continue being an awesome little parasite in the inverted system and infiltrated by the parasitic, you know, entities that cannot have a body. So the plugins in humanity are coming from the inverted matrix systems of enslavement. And so everything is made to keep us enslaved through fearing our power. But once we get reawakened in dragon frequency, especially the Moksha Dragon of liberation, good luck trying to tame a liberated dragon. So a lot of us, we misinterpret power with manipulation, with being intense, with being overwhelming, with being dominating, and so on. But that's coming from the inverted matrix. There is something that I love in the Bhagavad Gita. You know, I love yogi scripture, is my background. And in the Bhagavad Gita, when when Arjuna asked Lord Krishna to reveal his true nature, you know, Lord Krishna is like, are you sure? I don't think I can handle it. And of course, Arjuna is like, oh, I'm a prince. Of course, I can handle it. And then he does not handle it. Lord Krishna reveals himself, his true power, and the cute little human passes out, you know? And so this is very much that we can generate such a force field of electricity through our bodies that we can become like atomic bombs, hence the enslavement system, because the bombs in the hands of little children, very bad. So we are literally force field electrifying beings of creations. And we are here once we embrace sovereignty and once we free ourselves, liberate ourselves from the matrix of enslavement, we are unstoppable. So people who are embodied in this dragon blueprint are awakening and living as embodied dragon. This is the tipping point, and this is what's happening right now. This is a mass awakening of people joining forces to create tidal waves of love revolution. But let's say, for example, I go like, how dare you talk to me like this? Do you think you can treat people like that? And you know, like when you really embody a dragon and you go and then you really say things as they are, people are terrified. They piss themselves. Why? Because they are not embodied in their power. So for my entire life, I locked up like this to try to be kind, to try to be nicey, and a cute, gentle one. Not working, but the realignment happens through the heart and the realization that there is nothing that I do that has a frequency to damage or enslave. I move through integrity of my sovereign heart, double checking, triple checking with friends at times, you know, because we need to be humble. It is only so much we know. So we need to have a community that can tell us like, look, babe, like, I'm not quite sure that's you're right. It's a bit much, or like if it's not a bit much, you know. So when we can keep on checking ourselves, you know, like, do we live with integrity, with love, with honesty? Then let's unleash the power. because once we unleash the power, what happens is we move. So everything that we do with dragons, like since embodying that frequency, so I was initiated a year ago by the Moksha Dragons, but I didn't know what was going on. The energy was intense continuously. But since facilitating, because as I channel, I facilitate, I embody, it's easier. My reality has shifted completely, because now I don't lock myself, and it's also happening in my appearance. I dress in ways that I would not have dressed before because it's too vulgar. It's like, for this kind of category, like that's my limiting, subconscious programming from childhood. People who have tattoos, who wear prints, who dye their hair, who do their nails like this, they're basically vulgar, they're lower class. And I was like, fuck yeah, I like it. She's gonna do it. Like, I don't have parents anyway to judge me anymore. But you know what I mean? It's like once we move with the embodiment of who we came here to be, there is nothing that can stop us. And so everything about Dragon Move is move. You keep moving every single day, you move. There is no procrastination. There is no, I'm going to wait on the coach to integrate the galactic wave happening. You integrate through movement, through creation. Life is a teacher. Life is the mystery school. There is nothing that can stop a dragon moving. So even if it's a bit messy, wonderful. We learn in the messiness. We are still like, I'm really stepping away from old spiritual teachings and things out there that are like, take time, lean back, don't do anything, just, look at the sky and be at one with nature. It's like, and then what? And then what? What is going to happen in humanity with all the bypassing? Oh, this is not your problem. Like, we are not here to help people. They are here to rise. Like, I heard something recently again from a friend, and I was like, I used to think that, and now I can see how, like, it makes me so angry. It's like, oh, but when you become very wealthy because you do a lot of inner work, I've just found you're not supposed to help other people because you're depriving them from finding their own sovereignty and money and abundance. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? So pretty much it's again another very well placed inverted, plugging from inverted matrix system that promotes what? Separation, pedestaling. It's all about what about kindness, generosity? Did Jesus Christ create a lot of resources and say, no, I'm not going to walk with these people. They smell, they are full of entities, they are low vibe, they don't do the work. I'm just going to walk over here in my little cave, and I'm going to charge like all of this amount of money so they can come and they can bow at my feet and say, hail, praise to God. I was like, can you not? So I'm changing, my offerings and everything, because it's like the dragons, they walk with the people. There's nothing that can affect me if I keep myself in check. And of course, every now and then the universe gives us really good slap in the face, because it's good humility pill that is there for our growth, our personal growth. But otherwise, it's always there to serve us. So a lot of initiations came from me going back into the world, because I isolated and I started only hanging out with spiritual people of a spiritual frequency. Not my vibe. I'm there to be with the people. So it's like, it's really playing with the different concept and feeling. But I have connected with a lot of people that feel this. They don't want to stay in their golden towers anymore. They want to do something, especially with what's happening in the world. And what that happens through movement, it happens through action, because it's a compounding effect. Once I put myself in the world, I start doing things that matter, then the feedback loop is going to give me these feelings of, yeah, it makes me feel good, or it makes me feel bad, or more of this. And the energy is self-generated. We never run out of energy. That's also a false concept, It's like, yeah, we know when to relax and recharge, but it's a small pocket, because when we are sovereignly anchored in our electrifying field, multidimensional infinite soul that we are, we have endless amount of energy. We never deplete it. How could we? We are infinite beings of the light. The body adjusts, the universe adjusts, our reality adjusts, and we just keep going like this,
Yeah,
I think
there's so many things I could bounce off of.
I know. What I wanted to bounce off was that piece of the no intention to harm. and moving from that place and knowing that I have no intention to harm. And so I can express to my fullest because I'm not intending to harm anybody. And I also acknowledge that there may be harming in the process because people choose to be harmed. And that's a really important piece, I think, when we're talking to the humility, because we have to move from humility in that place. And the other thing that I love that you've just mentioned is about Jesus. And that's the fourth temptation of Christ, is to stay in the desert, right? The fourth temptation was to stay in the desert and to not walk with the people. But the choice is to come back into the world and contribute. It's from that place of contribution that we as humans receive the greatest joy. And so why would we want to just go and like, yes, it's fun to do that, but at the same time, we receive so much from interacting with other humans and connecting with the most powerful aspects of ourselves by interacting with those humans as well. So I love this. I'm sure that people are really loving your passion as well. I'm absolutely loving listening to you.
I love the piece that you spoke to, because as far as the spiritual community goes, because my interpretation of this is that there is a misinterpretation of a lot of messages. And I think that this one that you speak to, of the kind of what I interpret as the rescuing pattern, I feel that as individuals, when we learn things, we so typically do the pendulum swing. So we go from this ultimately ego feeding need to rescue people. And then we go, oh shit, I'm rescuing. This is not coming from a place of purity. Swing all the way to the other direction, which is, I can't help anyone because it's going to be this part of me that I'm trying to recalibrate. And I feel like what is being made available is that we have had a large proportion of the conscious community that have done that pendulum swing.
Yeah.
And now for those who want to, who have done the calibration of, I'm no longer doing it to feed this egoic aspect of me that gets something, kind of this boost or ego kick out of like rescuing and helping people. It gives me that, savior and hero complex. And they come all the way to the other direction, and they have to kind of spend a little bit of time not doing it, so that they can come into this middle place, which I believe is what you're speaking to, and what you also mentioned, Kirsty, which is this place of true servitude. And to me, that servitude comes from the heart. And when we talk about Jesus Christ, I believe that his capacity for helping and for service was through the heart. Like when I tune into the frequency of Yeshua, he's not getting off on, like, it's not like feeding this part of him is like, oh yes, like I'm a hero of everyone. And he doesn't treat people as victims. And so therefore the polarity of the victim and the hero cannot exist. And so when we come out of that hero and victim mentality and we come into this place of love and expression for service, I think that the whole paradigm shifts. And so for me, when I think about I also believe the same is true for a lot of polarities when it comes to the awakening process. A lot of what we have to kind of unravel from typically goes quite far to the other side before it comes into the middle. There's a rejection of government. There's a rejection of all of these things. And then as we start to integrate those aspects of ourselves and stop rejecting either end, right? The part of me that was a victim or the part of me that was in the egoic hero, when we're no longer rejecting each of those aspects, because ultimately all of it lives within us in some way, shape, or form, and we bring them all into integration and we can hold space for all of it, all of a sudden we can express ourselves through this alternate place, which to me feels like more of a unified field of all of these aspects. And so when you speak about the dragon, that's what I'm receiving. It's like the integration of the polarities, because when I see the spiritual community in the extreme version of the polarity, to me, it's the same frequency as the extreme conservative, right? It's, to me, they are two sides of the exact same coin. One is rejecting this one's rejecting this one. And it happens across all of these different themes. And so here we're talking about like the rescuing versus actual true service and action that is orientated towards supporting the greater good beyond our own individualistic kind of frequency. And yeah, it feels like what you're bringing through from this particular codex is that place of unified field. And it makes sense that there would be some, I guess, unraveling of your own perspective is like, oh, wow, I totally used to be on that pole, but now I've integrated that.
Yes, I love this. I love this
Yeah.
because, you know, it's a lot of people, they want to do more. You know, they want to know their purpose, they want to know why they're here and so on. And I think that's when we start doing a lot of things out of fragmented consciousness and not being really more connected to our sovereignty, this is when it feels very depleting, and we feel like, you know, we could be marching the streets to free Palestine, but then we feel the anger, the frustration, it's not leading anywhere, and it can be really detrimental. And this is kind of often like a lot of scattered energy. But when we start recalibrating our energy, understanding more that when we know this, it's always so basic. The masters have led the way before us and they have said it already. We're just trying to get it. It's like, you know, live from the heart, know yourself, everything starts from the self. Live simply, treat other people as you would, you know, like to be treated and so on. But when we actually try our best, you know, to live like this, it becomes easier to feel when we move into a direction and it's taking, you know, it's like, oh, there is, okay, I can feel like, so I feel satisfied, you know. So maybe someone is going to march down the street to free Palestine and feel really angry and exacerbated and more scattered than depleted. But another person will have an entirely different experience because of the way that they can, you know, feel within themselves what it's bringing up and work on themselves. So it's always like people, the work starts with the self and returns to the self eventually. But I'm sharing this because for me, I always encourage people to move and feel the feedback, feel it, and not stop moving, because there's always some form of frustration that can be latent, or an edge or a discomfort. Like, for example, I still feel that I'm not doing enough and that there is so much more I want like to do, because I would like to create a proper network for my non-for-profit. You know, now I just give money to existing non-for-profit and I share as much as possible, but still there is this frustration that has been there for years. Like, there is something that I'm supposed to be doing and I'm not doing it yet. But instead of seeing it as problematic, I see it as every single day that I show up to the best of my abilities in the moment, because moving is not necessarily taking depleting actions. Moving can be, I sit at my altar in silence for 20 minutes with my heart. That's movement. It's literally that's doing something rather than cultivating dissatisfaction or anger. And as long as I keep moving like that, I know I'm doing it. I'm fulfilling my purpose. And the big thing, it's like, it's going to reveal itself. I'm going to have signs and going to meet people. And that's going to happen because I move, not because I wait. So there is a certain form of, it's like an intelligence around movement that I feel a lot of us are remembering where to push. I push because I'm talking about my life right now. It's like I push to force myself to sit at my altar and meditate. That's a very healthy pushing, instead of I force myself to have a difficult conversation when I'm already dysregulated in my nervous system. That's the wrong pushing. First, I'm going to regulate and do the things, and then it's going to be edgy, but I will be more equipped to have a healthy conversation. So I know that we could chat for the whole day, but there is, we are all timekeepers here, but I would love to, to really share with everyone listening that, just push yourself. When you know, in all the ways that are going to eventually in the long term make you feel happy about yourself. Exercise, eat healthy, meditate, be kind to yourself and others, because that's a compounding effect. And after a while, you feel so good. There is more energy for getting out of the comfort zone and, you know, doing bigger things, you know, and the bigger things, they come when it's meant to happen. Yeah.
The piece that I wanted to emphasize that you've just touched on there as well is that embodiment piece. And, you know, in either polarity, we're kind of out there, whether we're on that conservative polarity and we're just living day to day, or we're in the spiritual polarity and we're lying back and looking at the sky. We're actually not fully embodied and present with our being. And that piece that you're talking about of, you know, the forcing myself to sit at my altar and meditate, that's the embodiment piece. And it's the intention to come into my body, to be with my body. And when I'm with my body, that's when I can generate the fire. And so allowing myself to have that questioning of where am I in this moment and where do I want to be? And then taking the action, as you've said, moving to that place intentionally is so incredibly powerful. And it's not hard. It's just a practice.
I love this.
Yeah.
It's very powerful. Exactly. Embodiment. Not hard. It's just
Yeah. And I think off the back of that same point, you know, there's this crisis that a lot of people have internally, which is that there are a lot of problems on the planet.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to be of service, there's this perception that I have to be in service to all of the problems. And I just don't believe that that is true. I believe that sitting in presence in our altar and following the energy that moves through us in that kind of healthy kind of service way is having a greater impact into the totality of the problems on the planet. I think that when our mission is to be empowering people or to work with individuals in bringing the more powerful aspects of them to the forefront, that has an enormous ripple effect into the planet. And so whilst someone might be working in sort of advocation and power for homeless people, someone else might be working with people who are also making impacts in their own little kind of sections of the world, and how the totality of that impacts. And I think for me personally, I really don't believe that we can focus our energy into every single category of problem. Like, we have to follow the heart and what is true and aligned and what we are actually absolutely passionate and resonant with. And, you know, I really believe that, you know, the work that you're doing, Cendrine, with supporting people with the dragon frequency, for example, as one of the many things that you support individuals with, is going to have a ripple effect, because the more of us that embody the truth of our, not just the truth of our heart, but the truth of our authenticity, which in this case, if we're talking about like that passion and that anger that's available, and we can like really integrate it so it's the healthiest form and it's sort of channeled through the heart and through the solar plexus and all these pieces, the planet changes. Like, everything changes with every individual that comes more into the power and more into authenticity. I was just reading something yesterday that I've read a million times before, which is that, you know, the frequency of authenticity is the highest frequency. It's higher than love, because authenticity is truth. And if we're in truth, now, if you think about all of the aspects of the problems in our reality, none of them are in truth, because they don't match up. And so the more of us that live in our truth, the more of us that live in our authenticity, that frequency starts to impact the planetary as a whole, and the whole thing shifts. And so I love that this mission, this piece that you personally are kind of bringing to this world, and I'm sure that there's lots of other people who work with dragons, but, you know, just talking about your specific mission, like, that is such a ripple effect that happens. And if that wants to be channeled into, you know, going to marches for Palestine, or if that is going into the power of being a really powerful sovereign example of a mum for your family, like, all these different areas that it can be channeled, none of them are better or worse than the other. We just have to trust what moves through us and what actually lights us up and what gets us excited and passionate and firing for life. Mm.
I love this. Carissa's on fire.
It's all that dragon frequency.
I love this.
Yeah, I love it. And it's what you said originally, Cendrine, about, people have often said that you're too much, and actually embracing that being too much and being that who I am in the world, knowing that some people are going to think it's too much, and that's okay. That's me bringing who I am completely to the world. And when I bring myself completely to the world, I'm giving myself completely to this present moment, which means that my fire is present and I'm able to impact the world. And there's the dragons
Yeah.
get to fly.
Yeah. And ultimately, when we are in our most embodied authenticity, it can activate other people, because the activation is when I see this person's fully in their authenticity, it highlights the aspects of me that are not. And that will make me point to you and go, you're too much, because I'm dimming, dulling, hiding those specific aspects within myself. And so that, just off the back of what you said, Kirsty, like to have that to sort of, I guess, support and hold us up to standing in that and recognizing that somebody else's perspective of too much isn't always a reflection of us. It's predominantly going to be a reflection of that person's internal reality and their internal perspective of all of the limitations that are being placed on them for being too much.
Oh, yes. And these limitations mostly comes from our closest circle, partner. Like the number one reason why women don't do something, it's because their partner doesn't want to. I ask friends here, just to finish on a very sexy high note, the magic men are coming. So I'm like, hey, bitches, who wants to come? In the group chat. It's a new group of friends. So obviously, like a big portion of them don't know me yet. But so they said, oh, like, my husband would never allow it. I was like, oh, I took a deep breath when I read the comment. And I did my hair and I went for a walk. And I was like,
so for context, for those of you who don't know, the Magic Men are an epic group of erotic dancers. Is that how you put it? Strippers. Yeah, they're so awesome.
Like Magic Mike. Like Magic Mike.
Yes, exactly. Yes, like Magic
Mike. It's a lot of fun, And so I say in the group text, I just wanted to poke this beautiful woman. But instead I say, like my ex-husband actually bought me the first ticket, and it's not the same as the other way around. It's just like a bunch of guys in G-string and oil, and they just run around half naked. And as women, we just laugh. It's a good time. And so basically out of 5 of them, only 1 can come, because the other ones won't even bring that up to their partner. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But I'm like, oh, goodness. This is some work that needs to happen in certain categories. But it's just the same. We allow our family members and our partner, because we want to keep the peace. But we don't keep the peace. We just bottle ourselves down. Easy to say for someone who's single.
I feel like there's a whole nother line we could go down with the masculine and feminine, but we won't today.
We won't, because we love women. But it's just an interesting dynamic. And again, I won't go there because I don't embody divine union. So when I'm in a relationship, we can have a conversation, because I might have had many humility pills to smash in my face then. But it's funny, as it's going. It's just it's that to finish, I just would love to everyone listening to really tune into the purity of the intention. Like, we're going to see a bunch of male strippers. The intention is not to cheat. It's not to desacralize the union, nothing at all. It is literally to laugh our heart out and pee our pants laughing with a girlfriend. And so the intention is actually pure. It is innocent. It's playful. It's joyful. And so this is where I would love to invite people to really speak up and stand up and just move with that, and speak with loving compassion to your family members and to your partner. It's just, then you just need reassurance. Like, you're the sexiest man on the planet. I don't even like look at these gods, but I just want to have a fun with my girlfriend, whatever. It's just we reassure our people. We're not here to antagonize them and separate from them. You know, this is not at all what I'm saying, but there's a lot of work that can happen in peace and truthfulness. So we can live with greater joy and playfulness as well, which is also dragon moves. You know, it's just liberate ourselves from the conditioning of, I have to be a little bit bored and watch Netflix every night to stay connected. It's like, maybe not.
Oh, what a beautiful way to finish this podcast on. Like that is the beauty way. Live in playfulness and joy and love, and that's the beauty way. So thank you for finishing on that piece. It's really, really gorgeous.
Well, thank you. Thank you both so much. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I love your podcast, and thank you so much for having me as a guest. And thank you everyone for listening. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Cendrine. That was super awesome. I love where we went and all of the different places, and I love the finishing note. So thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.